Welcome to the debate. We are diving into a monumental clash today, one that really defines an era of Japanese engineering. The philosophical divide between the Nissan R34 Skyline GT-R and the Toyota Supra RZ.
Yeah, it's a classic debate, isn't it? Pitting, all that tech and complexity against just raw power and fundamental architecture.
Precisely. So the core question is this. Does the R34 GT-R's highly integrated, technology-driven platform, its sophisticated four-wheel drive, all the electronic systems, does that provide the superior foundation for truly high performance? Or is the Supra's RZ's simpler approach, the one leveraging that inherent engine robustness, and frankly, a far more cost-effective path to extreme power? Is that the better engineering solution?
Okay. And I'll be arguing that the Supra, built around that, legendarily resilient 2JZ engine, represents the more formidable and crucially accessible platform for power generation and modification.
And I will defend the R34 GT-R. I'm asserting its status as the superior, technology-infused, race-bred icon whose complexity isn't a burden, but the definitive source of its controlled, comprehensive performance. So, the GT-R's origin story, it's rooted squarely in competition. It comes directly from a long, very successful race lineage. Its performance is basically defined by its integrated systems. We're talking the active four-wheel drive system, ATTESA, ETS, its stability management, its traction control systems, TACS. This makes it, fundamentally, it's a technology car designed for immediate success on track. Now, the RB26 engine, sometimes criticized for maybe being a bit fragile, small oil passages, aluminum block concerns, but it's engineered specifically for instantaneous throttle response. That's thanks to its short stroke design. This rapid spooling, this immediate reaction, it's paramount in competition. And when you get to serious power levels, let's say 600 horsepower, the GT-R's ability to seamlessly distribute power through ATTESA, it lets it put that output down so much more efficiently. It dominates the Supra in rolling races and launches. That consistent and frankly significantly higher market price for the R34 GT-R, often double that of a top-spec Supra. That reflects the inherent value placed on this integrated, race-derived technology package.
Okay. That's a compelling argument for the integrated tech, I get that. But I come at this from the perspective of, let's say, core engineering strength. If we talk about fundamental robustness, the Supra RZ is really in a class of its own. It was a purpose-built design, engineered as the Supra on its own specific chassis. The GT-R, while absolutely legendary, it is a derivative platform. It was adapted from a sedan line, one that also had, four-door automatic versions, lower output 2.0-liter variants. That tells you something, I think, about its initial structural intent versus the Supras.
Yes, that's historically accurate. Though you have to admit, the adaptation resulted in one of the most successful racing cars ever built.
Fair enough, but the critical difference, for me anyway, rests entirely on the engine. The 2JZ is just inherently more solid, more robust than the RB26. We are talking about an iron block and importantly a closed deck design. This inherent over-engineering, it translates directly to the Supra's chief advantage, the cost-effective path to extreme power. An Enthusiast can reliably achieve, say, 600 to 700 horsepower by only changing peripherals, a bigger turbo, injectors, intercooler, exhaust, without ever having to crack open the motor block internals. This tuning approach, it's exceptionally accessible. It might cost, maybe $15,000 for parts and labor? Conversely, trying to reliably push the aluminum block RB26 to those levels, it gets exorbitant. It requires tearing down the motor, installing forged pistons, forged rods, addressing inherent oil system limitations just to handle the power safely. Tuning the GT-R for that kind of high output, it's a process that is far more likely to, bankrupt you.
Okay, so we've clearly established the core tension here. The GT-R's holistic, integrated complexity versus the Supra's, let's call it, foundational, purely mechanical strength. Let's dig into the philosophy of performance a bit more. You question the GT-R supremacy because its core engine is, comparatively weaker stock, requiring major intervention, and its platform originated as a sedan. So why pay the premium for complexity when the 2JZ's inherent strength is such a superior foundation for tuning? Is that the crux of it?
Exactly. If the goal is a 700 horsepower street car, the Supra just offers a direct, predictable, and comparatively cheap route. My concern with the RB26 isn't just the parts cost, although that's significant. It's the mechanical limitations. The RB26, with its aluminum block, those smaller bearing clearances, and critically that historically restrictive oil drain collar issue, it runs the risk of oil starvation, particularly under sustained high RPM load, which is exactly what happens on a racetrack, right? The 2JZ, okay, being a long-stroke engine, it's certainly less responsive at lower RPMs. You definitely feel that lag up to maybe 4,000 RPM, but that lower responsiveness feels like a minor trade-off for its, frankly, unmatched ability to handle extreme boost pressures reliably, straight out of the factory.
I'm sorry, but I just don't buy that the GT-R's design philosophy should be knocked just because it's not the cheaper tuning platform. That ignores what makes the GT-R the GT-R. Its identity is its technology and the resulting driving dynamics. It is a technology car that delivers performance through systems integration, ATTESA, and tax, allowing it to manage power better, safer, and far more controllably than the Supra can hope to. The platform is designed to take the output of the engine, distribute it intelligently, and deliver traction where the Supra can only, spin its wheels. And moreover, the RB26's short-stroke engine provides that absolutely vital, immediate throttle response. This isn't about building some hypothetical 1,000-horsepower dyno queen. It's about a car that performs instantly coming out of a corner. The GT-R is engineered to use its systems to manage power effectively up to, I'd say, a very manageable 700 to 750 horsepower without serious reliability issues, leveraging controlled power delivery over just brute force engine capacity.
Okay, that's a great technical defense of the GT-R as an integrated product. But that integrated technology, it comes at a cost, both financially and, let's be honest, in terms of maintenance complexity. So let's talk about tuning costs and the accessibility of power. You defend the GT-R's higher market price, you mentioned maybe $120,000 versus $60,000 for the Supra, as justification for its technological superiority.
Well, yeah, that price discrepancy. It speaks to the totality of the product. The advanced ATTESA ETS system, the chassis rigidity, the racing pedigree. It reflects its technological sophistication, not just a simple horsepower figure. And this perception that Supra parts are universally cheap, that's often misleading. We know specific components, like the headlights for the RZ, are notoriously expensive. We're talking over $4,000 for a pair.
Okay, that is true for specific body components. I'll grant you that. But when we focus purely on the cost of power augmentation, the scale tips decisively. The massive price difference in achieving serious power, that's the key here. The GT-R requires thousands in forged internals and motor work simply to survive 600 horsepower reliably. The Supra, well, it achieves 700 horsepower reliably with just bolt-ons. This feasibility is thanks to the 2JZ's fundamental architecture. Its stock compression ratio is relatively low, making it inherently ideal for high boost without requiring an immediate, expensive teardown. This makes the Supra the overwhelmingly practical choice for the enthusiast seeking reliable, extreme performance. The 2JZ simplicity just means significantly less risk and expense when you're pushing the limits.
I see why you think that, I do, but focusing solely on the cheapest route to high horsepower overlooks the critical role the chassis plays in actually using that power. Let's maybe transition this debate to the ultimate performance ceiling and its application, where 4WD meets RWD. We both agree the GT-R has a decisive advantage in quick launches and rolling races, right? Because of its ability to instantly distribute torque dynamically across all four wheels via ATTESA.
Absolutely, yeah. Off the line in street conditions, the GT-R is pretty much peerless. However, let's consider the extreme upper limit for a moment. The 2JZ block is simply capable of greater maximum power. I mean, a 1,000 horsepower Supra build is almost commonplace in tuning circles. While maybe impractical for most street racing, That massive power ceiling demonstrates that the core engineering of the 2JZ is superior when pure, unbridled horsepower is the only metric. A 1,000 horsepower Supra will eventually overtake a 700 horsepower GT-R, if you give it a long enough stretch of track.
Right, but you need a very long, straight road for that gap to close, which, let's face it, renders the scenario hypothetical in most real-world performance contexts. In practical applications like circuit racing or even just spirited high-speed driving, the GT-R's 4WD advantage is decisive at that 600-750 horsepower level. It deploys that power safely, efficiently, and controllably. The RWD Supra, at those same power levels, struggles significantly with wheel spin. It demands specialized tires and, frankly, an expert driver just to maintain traction, especially if conditions aren't perfect.
Okay, but have you considered the inherent complexity of the ATTESA ETS itself? I mean, while brilliant, it's an active hydraulic and electronic system. It's got pumps, solenoids, fluid lines, sensors. When you really push the car hard, especially an older one, this system becomes a potential point of failure, doesn't it? The Supra's RWD drivetrain, while, yeah, it requires greater driver skill, it is mechanically simpler, and therefore it's often more robust and cheaper to maintain over the long run, especially if you're talking about sustained abuse.
That's an interesting point regarding potential maintenance, though I'd probably frame it differently. The GT-R is philosophically and, I think, practically better suited for track driving, precisely because its complexity, specifically ATTESA, makes performance accessible and controllable. The technology is an asset, providing stability and speed management that the driver can exploit. The Supra, by its own design philosophy, was more the Grand Touring, the cruising car, as it's sometimes called. While yes, it can be tuned to frightening levels of horsepower, its inherent RWD platform and lack of sophisticated traction management mean that transforming it into a truly successful track weapon requires overcoming fundamental traction limitations the GT-R solved decades ago through integrated engineering.
And yet, that sporty GT platform possesses the engine architecture that allows it to evolve into a street-legal monster far more affordably and potentially more powerfully than its highly complex counterpart. It kind of democratizes extreme performance, doesn't it?
So yeah, we've reached a clear divergence on how we define engineering superiority here. I still reaffirm the R34 GT-R's position as the superior vehicle, defined by its race-derived complexity, its comprehensive technology package, and its immediate controlled responsiveness. This integrated design, I believe, is what justifies its legacy and consistently higher desirability. It's the fully realized technological masterpiece.
And I reaffirm the Supra RZ's position as the fundamentally robust platform. The pure mechanical strength and, let's face it, over-engineering of the 2JZ, combined with the extreme cost-effectiveness of tuning, make it the more rational and, ultimately, formidable choice for achieving peak horsepower. It's simply the superior foundation upon which to build truly high-power goals.
It is absolutely fascinating, though, how the engineering philosophies of these two icons showcase such a dichotomy, isn't it? Between that integrated complexity and just raw core engine strength, both cars achieved legendary status, but yeah, by taking completely different paths.
Indeed. It leaves the enthusiast with a crucial choice. Do you weigh the value of immediate, highly controlled, integrated performance, or do you prioritize the potential for massive, yet relatively cheaply achieved engine power? Both platforms are true engineering marvels, just for very distinct and valid reasons.